Through the years, the NFL has gone through many iterations, but there is one era that helped define it, bring it into the mainstream consciousness, and help it supersede all other North American sports and make it the #1 sport in the US. And that was the 15-year run from the mid-80s to the late 90s. This was full of some of the most iconic players, teams, and moments ever, and they set the stage for what the modern NFL is today. I'm calling this the golden era, and it was led by offenses that changed the way the NFL was played. From the ground and pound game of the 70s, they evolved offenses to include more diverse playbooks and started to open up the league with the pass game and help bring a new wave of fans to the league. So I wanted to recreate 5 of these schemes in Madden 23, and each of them is from this distinct era, and though each of the schemes has stuff that sets them apart, they all had similar roots running through them. Each of the 5 was led by a Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm who helped make clutch plays and help bring them over the top. They also each had an NFL MVP on the roster, but also just an insane collection of talent throughout. But the biggest thing for each is they didn't sit on what worked offensively to that point. They tried to push forward and develop new exciting ways of playing the sport offensively, and this helped push offenses to new heights. So over the next 5 videos, I'll do in-depth breakdowns on each one of these 5 offenses, but they will all be run out of the West Coast Playbooks, so they can all be used together to make one unstoppable offense. Starting off, we have the 80s West Coast Offense San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers. They were led by the legend Bill Walsh, who implemented this groundbreaking offense that has had probably more impact on how the game was played moving forward than any scheme in the history of football. This offense was built around quick precision passing, and that is where they had Joe Montana at signal caller, who was the perfect QB for this offense with his pinpoint accuracy and precision. They also started to implement this split back look on offense that allowed them to use their running back as weapons in the pass game, and we'll be primarily running these formations when we are using this 49ers portion of the scheme. Then they had the greatest receiver in the history of the game with Jerry Rice, who could get separation from any corner on the field, and his connection with Montana was legendary. And these two, along with the West Coast system, led them to winning 4 Super Bowl titles in the 80s. Then we have the 1984 Dolphins. They were led by the great Dan Marino, one of the most gifted electric players of all time. He looked like he was built in a lab to play quarterback, and he had a top 2 to 3 arm in NFL history. And the Dolphins designed a downfield vertical passing attack built around these strengths, and it led to one of the greatest outlier seasons ever. He threw for over 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns, and these marks wouldn't be passed until 2007 and 2011. Though the Fins did run I-form and multiple tight end looks, they also employed 3 wide receiver sets more often than other teams of this era, so we will be implementing the same thing here, so we can use our talent on the outside just like Marino. He had speedsters at wide receiver that they would use to take the top off defenses, and we will do the same in our scheme, and this whole offense is going to be built around taking shots down the field and being super explosive. Next, we have America's team with the mid-90s Cowboys. This is one of the most iconic teams ever, and they were led by the triplets on offense. At QB, they had Troy Aikman. He was the captain and was an amazing field general who could win from the pocket with supreme accuracy. Then on the outside, they had his partner in crime, the playmaker Michael Irvin, who is one of the dominant forces of the 90s, making plays all over the field. But it all started up front for the Cowboys, who had one of the greatest offensive lines in all time, and they would play downhill smash mouth football, and we will be doing the same thing out of these I-form under center looks where we can pound the football. And then behind the O-line, they had the third member of the triplets with Emmitt Smith, the NFL's all-time leading rusher and the engine that made this incredible ball control Cowboys offense run, and this all culminated in 3 Super Bowl victories. Then we have the late 90s Packers, and this was an offshoot of the Niners West Coast offense led by Bill Walsh's disciple in Mike Holmgren, who took the 80s West Coast offense and started to modernize it, moving away from split back looks to more of an I-form offense, and then also added more shotgun elements as well, and we will be doing the same in this scheme. But the huge difference is he also had Brett Favre, who is the ultimate gunslinger, and he took the offense from a ball control underneath pass game to more of an explosive scheme using his insane arm to blow the top off defenses and put pressure on you at every level. And by combining these 2 ways of thinking, it created an offense that defenses struggled struggled finding any answers for. And on the back of it, Brett was able to win 3 straight MVPs from 95 to 97, and they also won the Super Bowl in 97. Then the 5th scheme will be the late 90s Broncos. They were led by the legend John Elway, and though he was in the later stages of his career, he was still one of the most dynamic and iconic quarterbacks ever. But he was still missing a ring, and he teamed up with Mike Shanahan and started running the wide zone offense. This was all built around his zone blocking scheme, and the O-line would work as a unit down the line with double teams to spring their dynamic all-pro running back in Terrell Davis, who is the perfect runner for this offense, and together this gave them the best run game in the whole league. Then off the run game, they had a heavy dose of play action and boots to get Elway on the run so he could use his athleticism and arm talent to make plays, and this mix of scheme and talent culminated in back-to-back Super Bowl victories in 1997 and 1998. Now, getting into the personnel you will use for this offense. Now, each one of the upcoming schemes we will release will be unique and have some different elements, but for the most part, the players we will use will overlap, so you really want to target players that fit these roles. Now, the first spot will be the QB, and the players in this era all tended to lean to being more pocket passers who could sit back and pick you apart all over the field. Accuracy and the ability to process information were the standout traits that all these guys had, and it wasn't the wide open passing league that it is now, so play action was a huge part of the game, and this is where they would start to take some deep downfield shots. Though each of the offenses asked the QB to perform slightly differently, with the Montana West Coast offense all being about timing and accuracy to put the ball exactly where it was needed, or Marino's 84 Fins where it was a much more vertical downfield passing attack that would use his huge arm to push the football down the field, or the late 90s Elway teams that utilize Elway's athleticism to get him on the move with QB boots off play action, and they would attack in this way. Now, we need a QB who can do all of this, and I'm using the new Joe Montana card, and he is the perfect fit for this role. He has a very good arm and can make any throw, but he also has some decent speed to get on the move and make throws out of the pocket. Then for abilities, use pass lead lead or set feet lead. This will get you that extra zip on the football and let you put it into any place you want. Then we are also using Hot Route Master, so we have access to all the extra hot routes for each player. The next star player in this era were the running backs. They were huge parts of these offenses, with the big emphasis on the run game and playing tough downhill football so big in this era. In our schemes, we'll be using these guys a ton in the run game and also passing them the ball out of the backfield. Now, we are going to be going for 2 styles of running backs, with the first being an in-between the tackles runner. Think Emmitt Smith when he was dominating with the mid-90s Cowboys in their power run offense, or Terrell Davis, who is the perfect one-cut runner in the Broncos wide zone scheme, and we are going to be utilizing both these different run offenses over the course of this golden era scheme. Now, in this spot, I'm going to be using the new Emmitt Smith card, and he brings the perfect mix of size and power to run in between the tackles, but he also has the speed and elusiveness to make plays in the open field. Then our other running back we want is more of a pass-catching receiving back, and the best one in this era was Roger Craig with the Niners. He was the ultimate weapon out of the backfield and was the perfect pass-catching back for that West Coast offense. And at this spot, I am using Priest Holmes, and he has the same speed and pass-catching ability and will be a great change of pace to more the in-between runner with Emmitt Smith. And depending on which of the schemes you are using, this will actually be your primary running back. Then for the pass catchers in this era, this is when receivers came to the forefront of offenses and became one of the focal points of the team, and it all started with Jerry Rice with the 49ers. He could do everything for an offense and was the ultimate technician at the position, who could take the top off the defense with his deceptive speed, but also make every tough catch over the middle with his incredible hands. Then another player who dominated in this number 1 receiver role was Michael Irvin with the Cowboys. He was the 3rd member of the triplets, and he was the explosive downfield element to that 90s Cowboys offense. At our number 1 receiver spot, we will be using Jerry Rice, and he's the perfect fit with his speed to get down the field and make plays, and he can make those tough contested catches over the middle of the field. Then also have route tech on him to make sure he can separate from man coverage and get us some big plays down the field. Then looking at the other playmakers for these offenses, and at our number 2 receiver, I wanted speed to make big plays down the field, and this is going to be a really big part of some of our schemes, like the 84 Dolphins scheme, where we are really going to be trying to push the ball deep, and at this spot, I'm using the Andre Ricin card. Then at slot receiver, I wanted wanted a route runner who is the ultimate possession receiver who could make every catch over the middle of the field. And I also have route tech on him as well, so he can break off from man coverage for some really big plays. And here I am using Chris Carter. Then at tight end, we want a player who is a great blocker. We will be running the ball a ton in these schemes, so being a blocker is super important. And I also have honorary lineman on this player to help him blow people up in the run game, and this is a really nice ability to have. Then he will also be a weapon in the pass game, especially in our play action game, so the ability to get downfield and make some plays in the pass game is also needed. As we go along in this scheme, there will be a ton more videos going up on the site for this golden era offense, but up right now is the first mini scheme. It is a 7-play pistol offense that is super explosive and is going to give you a great start in this West Coast playbook. Then also on the site are all my past schemes like my NCAA spread offense and my LOB Seahawks defense and a ton more. Then also on the site, you can get access to my playbooks, which are full written breakdowns for my schemes with 5 out so far, and my newest being my Pats offense that is 64 pages long, and this is really going to take your game to the next level. Then I'm also running a sale on the site, so use code SPRING at checkout and you will get 50% off your first month, and this is going to run till May 9th. So if you want to check out Scheme Kings, I'll leave a link down in the description below. Now, formationally and for personnel groupings, we will have 3 major looks, with the first being 11 personnel, and this is going to take up a good amount of our offense, and this will give us 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back, and this gives us some really good speed and playmaking on the field to put a vertical stretch on the defense, and this is going to primarily be used in our Packers West Coast offense and our 84 Dolphins scheme. Then our other major personnel group is 21 personnel, and this gives us 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 wide receivers. This will be our main formation when playing in our I form and split back offenses, and this will be built to run the football and be physical up front, and it'll really work in with our precision drop back rhythm pass game. This set will primarily be used with our 49ers West Coast scheme and our Cowboys triplets offense. The last group we will be using is 12 personnel. This is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and 2 receivers. This will give us more power to our offense and can let us attack in different ways, and we can really unlock our run game and really get that going. And then we are going to have some really nice play action shots off these looks, and this is mostly going to be used in our Broncos wide zone offense. Now, this golden era offense is going to be incredibly tough to stop once you get your hands on it, but to be a really complete Madden player, you also need to have a lockdown defense. So if you want to start dominating on that side of the ball, my Bama match coverage defense is a great place to start. If you want to check it out, you need to watch this video right here.